Welcome back to another episode of ChamberTalk, a podcast brought to you by Aberdeen and Grampian Chamber of Commerce. I'm your host, Finlay Jack. We have recently had some exciting news from the team at Belmont Community Cinema. In the words of Jacob Campbell, who is sitting across from me, the charity's chair, a sexy new brand identity were the words you used, and designs for what the cinema will look like. It's all quite exciting, isn't it?
It is all quite exciting, and thanks for having us on. I mean, it is a really exciting time for the cinema, for Aberdeen, for what we're trying to build. In the past couple of days, we've had a very successful launch of our fundraising campaign to renovate the cinema and to make it the place for film in the northeast of Scotland once again. We've also unveiled, like you were saying just there, we've also unveiled our new brand identity, which I think looks very, very cool. Sexy new brand identity. It's absolutely fantastic. It's by the guys at 42 Studios who have been fantastic with us. They've really led us on a journey to make this, this brand new thing, and this new identity for what will become a focal point of culture in Aberdeen again. And then also we've just unveiled our new floor plans for what each of the floors is going to look like in the new cinema. Tinto Architecture have led us through that one. It's been at times a frustrating process, but that's because we want to get it right. We really, really want to make sure that it fits everybody. Everybody can have a great time in this venue, and making sure it's a cinema that everybody in Aberdeen can be proud of. So
I know yourself, Dallas King, one of the directors, and a few others whom I've spoke to in the past, very much kind of keep your feet on the ground. Don't get too carried away when it comes to this project. But is it beginning to now feel a bit real? You kind of know what it's going to look like. It's hopefully not too far away. Is it beginning to really feel real now?
I mean, we've been on a journey. I think we started as a campaign group that we just liked cinema. We didn't want to see the Belmont, this kind of institution of Aberdeen, go down the tubes. We started back in October 22, as you know, after the previous operation went into administration, and it was about a community coming together and saying, well, actually, we can have nice things in Aberdeen, and we deserve to have these things. Now, as we get further on, and we've just launched this fundraising campaign, which I'm sure that the people of Aberdeen are going to respond to positively. It is becoming real. It's becoming very, very real that we can have this back. We can have an independent cinema in Aberdeen. We don't just have to accept kind of managed decline and continuing with things maybe getting slightly worse. We can actually have nice things, and I think that's the kind of mood in Aberdeen at the moment. Is we've been down, but we're on the way back up again, and that's a great thing for the city.
You've kind of mentioned a few groups and a few people that have helped the project so far. You touched on Sarah Dingwall, who'll be joining us later. She's a kind of fundraising guru, if you like. She's helping with your campaign. You've got Richard Tinto as your architect. You've got Rob Kenny as a project manager, as well as just the enthusiasm from film buffs like yourself. What value can these experts bring to this organisation, to this charity?
I mean, they are experts, like you say. Sarah, since she came on back in January, has been absolutely fantastic. She came from Robert Gordon University. She's come on board to the good ship Belmont and really hit the ground running. She has been the kind of driving force of our fundraising campaign, and we owe a lot to her. You touched on Rob Kenny and Tinto Architecture as well. Rob's been our project manager, and Tinto Architecture have obviously been our architects. They have led us through that process to talk to quantity surveyors to design what the cinema is going to look like, to everything from finding the right materials, making it the most sustainable operation possible. They have been absolutely fantastic. The other one I touched on was 42 Studio up in Rosemount, I think now. They are a branding and identity making, I guess, company. They have been with us since for a fairly long time. I think they reached out to us in the beginning, and then we had to go through a process of bringing on board a branding company. They have been fantastic from the beginning. Their ethos is very much around the community and wanting to see good things happen in Aberdeen. So it was quite a good fit when they came on board, and we went through a whole process with them. And how can we create something that's going to reflect Aberdeen and really make people feel proud about, we've got this wonderful thing in our city that everybody's got access to. No, we've assembled a really, really good team. I guess the other one we haven't touched on as well is a really important one for this operation, which is Station House Media Unit, or SHMU.
Yeah.
So SHMU are our education partner. They've been based in Woodside for the past kind of 25 years. They're headed up by Murray Dawson, their chief executive. Murray reached out to us quite early on in this project, once things were sort of getting moving. We're very, very excited to be working with them. They are, testament to the values that they hold dear. They empower communities. They go out. They give people the skills that they need to get on in life. But I mean, they're also about inspiring young people for, how can they develop skills in media production or in podcast development or in podcast. Here we go, podcast, whatever it is.
But especially in kind of impoverished areas, kids don't always get access to this kind of equipment.
Absolutely, and give it. If we can give back to the next generation, and if we can do that on the top floor at the Belmont in partnership with SHMU, I think that's a really exciting thing for Aberdeen, particularly as we don't know maybe what the economies of the future in Aberdeen are going to look like. We know that oil and gas is still here, obviously. We know that we're trying to make that just transition into renewables, but we do need to diversify, and we need to look at what's next for the city. What are the new and exciting industries that we can bring to this city? And I think Belmont, in partnership with SHMU, is one of those really exciting partnerships that is really going to make something new and exciting happen. So, yeah.
And without focusing on a negative too much, the decline of cinema since the pandemic, it has been quite prevalent. Other than I guess a bit of a spike during Barbenheimer last year, there hasn't been loads to shout about, probably mainstream cinema. And we recently saw, just a couple of weeks ago, Oban's community-run cinema closed down. Will the Belmont, and I guess how will the Belmont be able to recapture the success cinema's had in years, in decades gone by? It's
a really good question, and we're not silly about the environment that we find ourselves in. There's a reason that that Belmont kind of it phased out in the first instance. I guess the thing that we're doing differently is we're really trying to involve our community in what we're trying to build here. There's four main pillars of this project: film, education, community, and customer experience. So sticking quite steadfastly to those things and never taking our eye off the fact that our mission here is to bring people good cinema, but also to empower those communities to make a difference in the city, and so they feel that they are represented on screen, really listening to the community that we're trying to bring back to the Belmont. I mean, anybody that knows its history, it started back in the early 1900s. It was closed for a very, very long time. When it came back in the late 90s, I think it was first operated by Picture House, that operated out of London. When that went away, it was CMI, which operated out of Edinburgh. This will be the first time that's going to be operated out of Aberdeen since about the 1960s. That's a really exciting and wonderful thing. It's testament to the team that we've managed to put together. It's testament to the community that we've managed to build. And I think that's the thing that's going to make it stand out from everywhere else, is the difference between sticky money and slippery money as well. Is the slippery money, and I'm not slating the big kind of cinema chains here, but the slippery money will go out of your community and it will go elsewhere. The new operation at the Belmont will be rooted in the communities that we seek to serve, bringing people good cinema, putting our communities on screen, and making sure that everybody has the opportunity to see themselves on screen, but also to see the things that they value on screen as well.
And just finally, let's say the Picture House opens at some point next year, touch wood, hopefully it does. If you could pick one film to show on its grand reopening, I think I told you I wasn't going to ask you this, but I'm going to ask you.
It's a good question. It's a very good question. What
film would that be?
The one I've been holding quite steadfastly to is Tetris by John Baird. It's a local guy done very, very well for himself. His films are brilliant. He's a local boy done good. Tetris was a wonderful film that put Aberdeen on screen, as a backdrop for the Soviet Union, and the story about how Tetris came to the West. It was never shown in Aberdeen. I think it was shown up in Peterhead at the Arc Cinema there, which is nice because that's where John Baird's from, admittedly. But
it's the Shire, though. It's not the
Shire. It's not the city. It's the Shire, and we're inclusive here.
Of course.
It's but we welcome all sorts. But no, he. it was never shown in Aberdeen.
It's incredible.
Which is remarkable given, how much of the film, the backdrop is Aberdeen, and how much Aberdeen meant to and how much it meant to Aberdonians. I remember going up to see it in Peterhead, and every time there was, I think it was the Tower Blocks on screen or whatever it was a wee cheer in the audience because it was like fantastic, but this is...
We don't see it often.
We don't see it
exactly.
often. And so... And it's that aspiration of, well, what can Aberdeen be in future? Can we be the backdrop for Hollywood, for cinema, for, can we be something different? Are these the new industries that we want to kind of try and reach out to? I think it's a really, really exciting thing, and that's something that we can channel through Belmont and through this partnership with Shmoo as well. How do we make it happen? That's something to look at in future.
Also joining me today is Sarah Dingwall, the head of income generation and business development. Thanks for joining me, Sarah. And before we talk more about the future of the cinema, I think it's important just briefly to reflect on what it was. I was there at my old job maybe half an hour after it was announced that Centre for Moving Image were ceasing trading. Seeing the staff leave after being given little to no notice, it almost felt like you'd ripped the heart and soul out of the building, but also the staff. And I know film buffs like yourself loved it. Would that be a fair reflection? Because it was so adored by so many people.
I would agree, and I think the sudden nature of the cinema closing, I mean, it's maybe too emotive a word, but I know for many people, audiences, staff, it was devastating to see it shut in that way. So I'm privileged to be part of the team bringing it back.
And just talk to me about memories that you had, because I know you went there often a few years ago.
So
with
Belmont
your
was pretty important to me. It was a place where I took my son to see his first film.
Which was?
Wallace and Gromit's Were Rabbit. So he loved
Good
it.
film.
Yeah, he loved watching it. So it was important. I didn't know whether he would be quiet, sit still, but he was mesmerised, and that started his love of film. It was a place where we went to as a family. We've taken family and friends on occasions to see important films. So it's really been part of our life. And I don't think I'm alone in feeling that in Aberdeen. I think everyone's got a story about going to the Belmont, not only what they saw there, but what happened, who they were with, and the feeling of closeness of seeing a film there. So,
And I guess perhaps maybe slightly touched on it there, but you joined the campaign in January, I think.
That's
this
right,
year.
yeah.
And what made you want to get involved in this?
Yeah, so I'd been working in fundraising for Aberdeen University and RGU. It's a brilliant job, actually so worthwhile. And then I saw this came up, and because it's a cause close to my heart, I was very keen to get involved. And I think the groundswell of support for it, I mean, I've not spoken to anyone who doesn't think the Belmont is and will be a wonderful thing. So it made me think it's achievable, brilliant project to be part of, something good for Aberdeen. So very keen to be involved in it for those reasons.
And it is going to be a bit of a challenge. I think £2 million is a big figure. I think that covers, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a major revamp, equipment upgrades, and it's at the first 6 months of running costs as well.
At the moment, it's the capital campaign. So that's a thoughtful refurbishment, heating, ventilation, and the audio and cinema equipment. So we have raised money for revenue funding, but that's a different stream.
Yeah, okay.
So,
I mean, what challenges do you see presenting themselves here? Because it's such an incredibly huge amount of money.
Yeah.
For such a
I have
cost.
absolutely no doubt that we'll raise the money. We've made a good start already. I think we're at 365k, and that's come from a mix of donors, different streams. Very grateful to everyone. That's come from grant funding, Aberdeen City Council, and most importantly to me, it's come from the generous foresight of people in Aberdeen, people who love the cinema, community groups as well have given back. So it really just shows it's going to be a cinema for everyone in Aberdeen, and I hope it will be a mix of funding that gets across the line. So,
I guess is that one of the key points from fundraising as well as just the cinema being there at the heart of the campaign, is that it really is for the community, I guess, by the community in many ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important for many reasons, and I think people can see that. So for arts and culture in Aberdeen, I think there's a gap without an independent cinema, so bringing something that back is great. Regeneration of the city centre, it'll employ local people, hopefully encourage footfall into the city centre, and bringing back something that really offers a different, unique experience that the refurbishment will do. It'll be something different, something that people won't have been to before. It will be the Belmont, but it will be a better Belmont. on. So we think all those sort of things will really pull people together. I think Jacob, when you spoke to him, mentioned the SHMU aspect.
Yeah.
So that's very important. SHMU are an award-winning organisation. They do so much with young people. And again, this is creating new opportunities for people, new pathways, new career pathways, helping to build confidence. So I think that element as well will encourage people to give back.
And there's a lot of work right now in the city centre going on. I'm sure you know the Union Street campaign doing a lot. We're in the building just now, Aberdeen Inspired. A lot of improvements happening in the city centre. The Belmont's next, really. I mean, it's quite a good time. There seems to be momentum kind of building towards city centre.
I would think so. I think it's a good time now for Aberdeen. So, yeah.
Just finally, I asked Jacob the same question. If you could pick one film to watch first back at the Belmont Cinema, what would that film be and why? Would it be Wallace and Gromit?
It wouldn't be Wallace and Gromit, although I do love that film. It would probably be Cinema Paradiso. It's a film about someone who loves cinema, who opens a cinema, and it shows how important the cinema is to a community, and it's a real tearjerker. So, one to get your hankies out too. So.
Wonderful. Thanks for your time, Sarah. I appreciate it. And thank you to Jacob too. You can get in touch with the charity via email on info@belmontcinema.co.uk. I've been your host, Finlay Jack. See you next time.